Welcome to the Southbound Podcast. I am Patrick Reed with Blue Water Civil Design. And today's guest I have with me is Velda Hughes, the owner and president of the Hughes Agency. Welcome, Velda.
Good morning, Patrick. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on board today and sharing your story with us. Tell us a little bit about the Hughes Agency and what all y'all do for people.
The Hughes Agency is a full-service marketing, public relations, advertising, and event business. I actually started this business 37 years ago.
Wow.
Had a partner, and but now I'm on my own, and I've been on my own, I guess, for the last 20 years. And we do all kinds of things. It's been a great part of my life, and I enjoy every single day.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So, Velda, being in Greenville for the past 40 plus years, tell us where did you grow up? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a very small town, Tabor City, North Carolina. It was population 2,000. It was a great place to grow up. I grew up basically on a farm. Pretty rural area. Mm-hmm. My father was the publisher of the local newspaper, the Tabor City Tribune, and also a neighboring newspaper called the Laura Sentinel. My father was the publisher, and my mother was the advertising director, and they put me to work there at 9 years old.
Wow.
So I think I tell everybody I don't know anything other than work because I've been working since I was 9 years old. So
yeah, that's amazing. So what was that like having so many years ago, having working parents? That was a little bit different for that time of the world, right?
Well, it was, especially in a rural community, mm-hmm. To have a dad and a mom that worked full time. But that was an invaluable experience for me. I learned the value of work, the value of money, and if you didn't work, you had no money. So I think I got paid for like $5 a week. But at the time, that was a big deal to me.
Yeah.
So I thank my parents for the work ethics that they taught me. Mm-hmm. I've tried to do the same with my own children.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So was that earning wages that young? Was that kind of like a key moment in your life to kind of understand the value of money and the work that goes with it?
It was, Patrick. Any 9, 10, 11-year-old doesn't want to work.
Right.
You want to stay home and watch TV and hang out with your friends. But my father insisted you go to school. My mother would pick me up from school, take me to the newspaper office, and I would always have tasks, and that was Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
But it was an invaluable experience, and I think that's pretty inevitable with the path I've taken. I've been a working mom, and I would not have it any other way.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What all did you do for the paper when you first started working for them?
Well, when you're 9 years old, you don't do a tremendous amount of heavy lifting. But what I did was I would answer the phone. Mm-hmm. I would say, Tabor City Tribune, this is Velda Carter. And so I would answer the phone. And back then, if you had more than one section of the newspaper, it had to be manually inserted, called collating. So I would take Section A and I would put Section B mm-hmm. into Section A. And, we didn't have a huge amount of newspapers. I think the circulation might have been about 700. So I would collate like 700 papers. That would be my job Tuesday and Wednesday.
Man, that sounds like tough work. But yeah, that's also a good lesson to learn too. You don't want to do that for the rest of your life. So where'd you go to school after Tabor City?
Okay, after Tabor City High School, I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So I'm a Tar Heel. Mm-hmm. My father was a journalism major, obviously. My brother was a journalism major, and I chose to be journalism also. At the time, I really wanted to go into broadcast journalism. I always wanted to be Katie Couric. She was my idol. She was who I hoped to be. But my father convinced me that written journalism, a reporter in a print publication, in his mind was a better choice. I don't really have any regrets in my life. That's the only thing that I might have done a little differently in my life. I would have gone into broadcast journalism.
Yeah, you would have been fantastic at anything you did. But yeah, Yeah, I definitely agree with you. That would have been really cool to kind of see you do that.
That would have been fun.
Yeah.
That would have been fun. But I've loved what I've done. But the journalism was just what I learned as a child. And like I said, my father was the publisher. He wrote, the editorials, and so I just learned from him.
Well, tell me a little bit more about your father, because he's got a pretty good story. And even though it's a small town in North Carolina, he made a pretty big impact on the world and the things that he did. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my father, if he was alive today, would be 102. And I still talk to him all the time. Yeah. I talk to him in my head. He for sure was my mentor. He was for sure who I looked up to, along with my mother, though, too. I have to say they both were my mentors. But I guess my father probably is where I learned so much. And I still, like I said, I talk to him every day in my mind. But my father was the publisher. And he was the editor. Small town newspapers, you sort of did it all. And my father was very, very adamant that all people are equal. All race, all religions, people are equal. And in rural North Carolina at that time, that was the KKK. That was the Klan country. And so many people were beaten. Just horrible things back then. That's back Tabor City, Conway, that whole area was just rampant with the KKK. Yeah. And my father believed that through the newspaper he could make a difference. And so, he fought the war. Yeah. And he was able, through the newspaper, he won the Pulitzer in 1952. Wow. And it was for his war against the KKK. Because of his articles, because of his passion, 41 KKK members were put in prison. Wow. The Grand Dragon was sent away for years to prison. Wow. So I learned a whole lot as a child. There were times that I had a bodyguard because somebody would call and say, "We're going to kill your wife. We're going to kill your children." So you got to remember now, in 1952, that was, I was like very small. Yeah. So, but my brother and my sister, who are 5 years and 8 years older than me, they remember those times. Yeah. So the cross was burned in our home. Part of our house was burned. So I learned from him that if you believe in something to the degree that he believed, that all people are equal, which is I believe the same. There's a lot of times that I will fight for that same cause. Yeah. And I learned that from him. So that Pulitzer, that desire to make sure that people are treated fairly, the desire to not see horrible things happen. I guess I could jump into Afghanistan right now if I wanted to, but I better pass on that. Like I told somebody the other day, I want to go to Afghanistan. I want to go. I want to do something to make a difference, but I know that's not realistic. Yeah. But I learned those passions from my father.
That's amazing. So was your father from Tabor City? Did he grow up? What was a little bit of his upbringing?
My father he grew up in Albemarle, North Carolina. But as I stated, he went to the University of North Carolina also. Yeah. He loved to tell the story. He went to UNC as a freshman, and he had $24 in his pocket. And he worked his way through school. Oh, wow. Paid every dime of his education. Golly. And so you learn a lot from those experiences. Yeah. And, how many of us now, our parents pay for our education. Absolutely. And so forth. But both of my parents paid their way through school, and that made a lifelong impression on me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back in just a little bit.
Okay. Thank you.
The Southbound Podcast is sponsored by Blue Water Civil Design. Blue Water Civil Design is a professional civil engineering firm located in Greenville, South Carolina, serving the southeastern United States and beyond. Started in 2010, the firm is bound together by 4 founding professional engineers with more than 100 years combined experience in all aspects of civil site work engineering, land planning, site selection, and analysis. For more information, please visit us at bluewatercivil.com. Welcome back to the Southbound Podcast. Today's guest is Velda Hughes, the owner and president of the Hughes Agency, and she's told us a little bit about her early life and growing up and the inspiration of her father and his legacy. Velda, tell us a little bit about starting your own company and the Hughes Agency. How did that all kind of come about at the time it did?
Okay, Patrick, I guess 30-some years ago, I was a wife and I was a mother, and I had 3 children under the age of 3. I had twins. And so I was working then for the Greenville News. Actually, I was working for multimedia newspapers that owned the Greenville News. And I was traveling all over the country to other multimedia-owned properties. And I was in a hotel in Canada. And all of a sudden, I realized that this is not going to work. I've got 3 little children at home. I have a husband that's trying to run a business, and I'm traveling everywhere. Yeah. So at that time, I told myself, I'm going to start my own business. Wow. So I started my own business. I resigned from multimedia, which was a hard thing for me because I did love it. Yeah, because
and you're kind of doing what your father did. You worked for the paper, and that was kind of a big deal for you.
Right. But I knew that with a 3-year-old and 2 zeros that I had to make some changes. So I started my business, and my first client I think was a retail ladies' clothing store, and I did their grand opening. So I kind of went from there to where I am today, and all these years later, I have probably close to 30 clients.
Oh, wow.
And it's been a growing, learning process, but it was the right thing for me. And I guess I will say it was the right thing for me because it gave me flexibility in my life. I think I've told you a big point is I wanted to be a good wife. I wanted to be a good mother. I wanted to be now a good grandmother. But also I wanted a career that I loved and a career that I enjoyed every day. And I feel like I accomplished that.
Yeah. That's amazing. How have you, I think you've still continued your father's legacy to fight the good fight and to kind of provide service for those that need help and need a voice. Tell me some of the organizations that, you're focusing your time on supporting and helping.
Well, right now, I'm spending a tremendous amount of time working with the city of Greenville on Unity Park. Unity Park is going to open next April. It is a 60-acre park in the heart of Greenville. Falls Park, which I know you're familiar with, is 8 acres. This park is 60 acres. Wow. So we're talking about a far bigger park. Yeah. And I guess you might say that I love the idea of the park because it's for the richest of rich, it's for the poorest of poor, it is for everybody. That's so right. Everybody can go to this park and enjoy their day.
Yeah, what a great name too, Unity Park. It brings everybody together. And Greenville has such a beautiful, terrain to kind of feature, and that's going to be amazing. Be like our Central Park.
Right. That's perfect. That's exactly right. It is our Central Park. But what's even better about it, in the middle of our park, we have the commons. We have a food court. Yeah. So you can bring your children there. You can spend the whole day, and you don't have to get in your car to go have lunch or breakfast or dinner. You can eat right there. So it's going to be an amazing, amazing park. Yeah. So that I spend a good bit of time. The city hired my agency. We're not fundraisers, but this is a passion of mine. But we're raising $25 million in private dollars to go with the public dollars and to build Unity Park.
That's amazing.
So spend time there. Spend time with Clement's Kindness.
Oh, okay. What's Clement's Kindness? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, Clement's Kindness is a fund for children with cancer. I was one of the original board members there, and I worked on that for the past 15 years. And it's a passion. We had a godson that died at 9 of brain tumor, and that was sort of the beginning of my passion for trying to help those children. So, Patrick, you don't want me to get into all my passions.
Yeah, no,
we'd be going on way too long.
One thing about children's cancer, I've been at the Children's Hospital of Atlanta with my daughter, and in the waiting room before a procedure, and we had a smaller surgery than what some of those other kids are, but man, I mean, that was just so hard to see all those kids and what all they have to go through. So, I'm very appreciative of you. Helping out Clement's Kindness, because that's such a great need that we have. That I want to do everything, I want to do it all, but focusing on that for the children, they can't ever say thank you back, but I know that everyone's grateful for you for doing all that hard work.
It's a passion.
Yeah. What other organizations are you working with?
Well, I've worked with a lot of different organizations. I've worked with the Governor's School.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That's all amazing.
And the Heart Association. My father died of heart disease, so I try to do as much as I can with the Heart Association. Do a lot with the Cancer Society of Greenville County. And then another real love of mine is the Meyer Center. So I try to do as much as I can there. I also have a very dear friend that their child is there.
Yeah.
So I tend to get involved into things that I have a personal friend or a reason that I want to give back to that organization.
Right. Yeah, Meyer Center is such a special place. How about Men of Color? Tell us a little bit about that program and that organization.
Well, gosh, Patrick, like I say, sometimes I wonder, what is wrong with you, Velda? You have so many things that you feel passionate about, and I'm really glad that you brought that up. The Clemson Men of Color, it's incredible. And this is the 5th year, and hopefully COVID is going to allow us to continue on with that. It's going to be in the next couple months. But that program, and I have to say I can't thank Clemson University enough, but it is a program for children that have no way of going to college. They are first generation, either African American or Hispanic children from the very, very lowest income schools in Greenville County, and some from Spartanburg County. And it provides them a way to go to college.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful program, and we bring in speakers from all over the country. And last year, Magic Johnson came.
Oh, wow.
And we actually bring the children to the convention center, and seeing these high school juniors and seniors meet Magic Johnson, that in itself was such a joy, a joy.
Yeah.
I knew he was big, but I didn't know he was that big.
he's a big dude.
But that's another thing that I'm working on right now. So I would say with what I'm doing right now, Unity Park, Men of Color, and the Cinex Share the Magic. That's an event that I've been working on for 11 years. And we raise about $2 million a year for children's charities.
Golly, that's amazing.
But you know what? I just believe that, and here again, it goes back to my father.
Yeah.
There's no reason that I am not able to give back. I'm healthy. I'm strong. I have passion. So why not do the best I can? And another great phrase that my father taught me is not, somebody will come up to you and they'll say, "Have a good day." Well, it's not "have a good day." He always said, "Velda, make a good day."
Oh.
And the make is the key word. You got to make your own great day, and you got to make your own passions. And you don't just expect somebody to give you everything.
That's right.
So I always love that. The two things that I want to convey: make a great day, and then when I would have not such a good day, he would always say, "Velda, the sun will come up tomorrow."
Oh, wow.
And it will. It will come up.
Yeah, we have to say that. I have to say that to myself sometimes too.
The sun will come up tomorrow.
That's right. So it hasn't always been hunky-dory and perfect. Did you ever experience some hard blows in your profession?
Sure. We all do.
Yeah.
And like I say, make a great day. There are going to be days that are not necessarily so great. I lost my mother when I was in my early 20s. And I say that was a blow because, everybody wants their children to know their grandmother.
That's
and
right.
That didn't happen for me. So that was a blow. I've lost clients. I've we just think we have things that happen.
Yeah.
But you just, like I always say, Velda, you're going to pull yourself up, you're going to rise above it, and you're going to keep moving forward.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that inspiration. So, that I love hearing all that stuff. Tell us a little bit about some of your keys to success and what you've kind of relied on that allows you to be successful and be Velda Hughes.
Okay. Well, Patrick, when we first got here and you were talking about your day, and you yourself, you're up every day at 4:30 and you've got little children, you've got things going on. So you gotta make your day.
Stay ahead of them.
you gotta stay ahead of it. So I guess I would say, if there's one trait that maybe I'm halfway good at is organization. I'm up every day at 5 a.m. I open my computer and I get right on my emails that I got during the night.
Yep.
And I try to stay up on things. So I think organization. I like to stay on a schedule.
Yeah.
For me, a schedule is a good thing. I like to prioritize what needs to be done and what might not be quite as hot of an item. And then the number one thing, always hire people that can do things better than you. I have an office of 30 people that can do things far better than I can. So you don't hire people that just can duplicate your work.
Right.
So that's key.
Yeah.
You hire people that can do better than you can.
That's right.
So I've done a good job with that. And you also have to try, and it's taken me a long time to learn this, but you need to try to find time for yourself,
That's so important. One thing I tell my children is I'm not responsible for your happiness. And I tell them, I say, part of that is when you go on the airplane, they tell the parents, put on your mask, your oxygen mask before you assist your children. And I use that analogy because it's like, if you're not breathing for yourself, how can you help other people breathe?
Right.
And I think that's so important. And thank you for sharing that.
Like I say, I get up at 5. I do my work for about the first 45 minutes, and then I'm out the door to exercise. For me, exercise is key. I've got to have a way to exert some energy.
Absolutely.
So I get all that done in the morning. Then I walk in my office. I try to give as much as I can to everybody there. But then at the end of the day, I try to find a little bit of time for myself and my husband and my children and my grandchildren. Do
you have any hobbies that you have outside of exercising and work and stuff? But is there anything else?
Well, I'm kind of going to give away my age here, but at 65, I hired a life coach. Now I'm not 65 now. I hired a coach at 65, and he said, "Velda, I'm going to give you 1 month. You spent a lifetime working, a lifetime raising children, and now you're trying to be, grandmother of the year, and run your business properly.
Yeah, right.
And you're not doing so good on you." He said, "I'll give you 1 month to find a passion, a personal passion, and you'll come back and say what it is." So at 65, I started tennis. And now, that sounds a little ridiculous to start tennis at 65.
No, it doesn't.
But I've really, really enjoyed it. So I would say exercise, tennis, and spending time with my friends.
Oh, wow.
That's what I do for me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. Well, let's take a quick break, and we'll come back with a wrap up to the show.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome back to the Southbound Podcast. I am Patrick Reed, your host from Blue Water Civil Design. Our guest today is Velda Hughes, the owner and president of the Hughes Agency, and she's been sharing her story with us, and she has a little bit left to kind of share with us about her outlook on Greenville, the upstate, and the South. Velda, do you tell us a little bit what you think about next 10, 20 years look like for us in the area?
Okay. Well, look at Greenville. Just look where it has come in the past 30 years. 30 years ago, you could ride down Main Street and maybe not see a soul. And look at it now, and look at our skyline. Look what our mayor and our city council people and our county people have done. It's pretty incredible. You can read in Forbes, you can read in the Wall Street Journal, you can read almost anywhere, and you're going to see that Greenville always lands like in the top 10 cities as far as growth, or as far as the arts, or as far as almost anything. So I could not feel better about the city that we live in. Greenville is incredible. Now, you're asking me the question, what next? Yeah,
it's good now. So how does it continue to look for the next 10, 20 years?
Well, and I guess, I've already talked a little bit about Unity Park, but that is going to be a regional and national it's going to be, landmark. People are going to come from all over to see Unity Park. So that's sort of going to complete our city as far as land. But also, I feel that with the new convention center, there's a lot of discussion right now about the downtown convention center. That's going to bring more business into Greenville. And I hope we're going to be able to afford, the Greenville Convention Center and the new downtown convention center. But you're going to see a lot of growth, a lot of hotels, a lot of restaurants, a lot of building. And Greenville, just like last week, a major Fortune 100 company, Cinex, merged with Tech Data, which is now that's a combined business of a $50 billion company with their regional headquarters here in Greenville. So growth is amazing. And we don't have an ocean here like Charleston. We don't have a mountain here like Asheville. But we're just right in the perfect spot. I think Greenville is the prettiest town in South Carolina. And I think we're poised for amazing growth.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing with us. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. And Velda, thank you so much for being on the Southbound Podcast with us today. I hope all you listeners gain some inspiration from Velda and her stories. And as Velda would say, make a great day.
Thank you, Patrick. I enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right.